Coming up, a Sad Styles production.
Get into it.
Got an hour. I have to go to the theater.
Why would you have to do
I
that?
have to go to the theater again.
Again?
Yeah.
It's a video game podcast, Andrew.
Yeah, it doesn't mean I am not allowed to enjoy other things like high arts, like the theater.
I wouldn't even know the meaning of the word.
Right. Don't ask me it either, but it's probably something about live performance. It's very exciting. And I've been going a lot recently. This is actually my second time seeing this play, but it's really important I see it. So I only have like an hour and a bit.
Why would you see a play for the second time?
Because I have to replay it.
What? Okay. I'm just going to slow things down for a brief second here. What?
It's been a breakneck speed so far.
Well, I'm going to break your neck if you interrupt me one more time. How about that? And it's going to happen fast.
Yeah, that's fair.
What made you think you needed to see, and let's start from this. What made you think you needed to see a play twice? And I pray this is not the answer I expect it to be.
Well, this week's episode was about...
Okay.
What?
No. Sorry. You're right. I don't want you to break my neck for interrupting you right after I threatened to do the same to you. So why don't you explain to me
this week's theme?
Jesus Christ. I can't even.
Oh my God, Mikey. I don't want to get my neck snapping hands out.
Okay. Sit on those hands.
These are the ones.
Those mime hands that you're showing
Listener,
me?
I'm showing him my hands.
Okay. They're not listening yet. We haven't started the podcast.
Oh, that's a good point.
But why don't you explain? Just do it. I'm ready.
So
I'm ready.
This week's episode is replayable games. And so I started reading when you sent over, hey, this is the topic for the week.
Yeah.
I got to replay and I said, I got to see this play again.
So when you see live art.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for respecting the
No,
live.
of course, I do have a respect for the theater.
Yeah.
When you see it twice.
It's a replay.
You know one thing, Andrew, that I would not like to do twice, unlike the rest of the games on our list coming up?
What's that?
Revisit this conversation another time. This week on the Retrograde Podcast, we're going to take a look at the top replayable games of all time.
I thought I'd go with play cool, but replay's okay. And welcome to the Retrograde
Video Game Podcast, where this week we talk about the most replayable video games of all time.
My name is Andrew Bascom. With me, as always, is the bad boy of podcasting, Mr. Bebop himself.
Mikey, Aaronworth.
You know what? It's pretty good.
It's simple.
Just because it's obvious doesn't mean it's bad.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I would go so far as to call it obvious.
Oh, no?
I think it takes a very sharp mind to think of something so obvious that no one else saw it right in front of them.
I'm glad you brought this up because this happens in Goodfellas, where there's like Tommy Two Times or something like that they call him.
I thought you were going to say, I'm glad you brought this up because I've been meaning to talk about how you're not as sharp as you think you are. Tell me about...
You patting yourself on the back is getting incredibly tiring. Over the most
For
mundane
you or me?
mediocrity.
My right arm is exhausted.
Got tennis elbow over here. In Goodfellas, there's a guy like Tommy Two Times or something like that. And it's like, because he says everything twice. And you're like, oh, that's fun because he's meeting 40 people. So like they all have a quirk.
Right.
Because everyone's got something.
Right.
So they're memorable. And I keep thinking about how annoying it'd be to know that guy in real life.
Tommy Two Times?
Yeah, or whatever the hell this guy's name is.
Oof.
But it would just be like, you go down and see the doctor? And you're like, is he okay? Did someone check on him?
But that's the thing. Have you ever... It's a great movie.
Thank you.
Goodfellas.
Yes.
Pretty good.
Oh, okay.
It's a decent movie.
Okay. Oh, wow.
But that's comic booky. And Scorsese does these things sometimes, I'm finding in rewatching some of his movies that are pure fiction and just comic book.
What is a fictional movie? What kind of half? Actually, it's not. Hank Hill's I think he's a real guy.
Hank Hill. He loves propane.
Yeah, I was going to say he's got a Sunny Bobby.
Yeah. No, I like... I've never met anyone in my life who says things twice like that. So was that like first draft of his script? He's like, I'll punch that up later. And he just didn't.
I think the character building in that movie is part of the fun. It colors the edges.
No, it is. It is. But that's not a real thing.
Not to us.
We're not Italian. Not to anyone, Andrew, but we're not Italian.
But we're not Italian.
You know what? When you put it that way,
I don't understand other cultures, like the Italians.
The Italians are the most cryptic and mystic of all cultures.
Oh, very much so, yes.
I understand all other cultures.
I wish they'd get more representation in movies. Hey, whoa, I'm watching you.
You're watching me?
I'm watching these movies with Italians.
Andrew, I've been watching less than I have lately because I've been playing a lot lately.
Whoa.
And there's a lot of new games in the news, in the media. We had to get, I feel like we've said this a couple times in the past, but we've had these little stretches where we've recorded a few episodes to get ahead.
Yes.
It's been a busy summer for us. I had a busy couple weeks, so we got 2 weeks ahead. And in the meantime, there have been a couple big releases that we haven't talked about yet. Armored Core being one of them, Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon, and Baldur's, what?
I don't know. When your name is Armored Core 6, you're like, man, we really need something after that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people will be like, what is this game?
There's too many. Well, does Final Fantasy always have a subtitle?
I don't think so.
Because I know
It's off the top of my head, though.
Final Fantasy 8, Final Fantasy, there's 9, 10.
Now you're just not naming numbers.
Now I'm naming numbers.
Yeah.
Mikey Names Numbers is our new podcast that we got going on. Armored Core 6 haven't, a lot of these new games, there are just too many came out too quickly that I'm just not going to have time to play them.
Yeah.
But one that I do want to touch a little bit on, and then I have a question for a game that I know you like that I want to get to in a little bit.
You're Mikey Numbers Aaronworth, if you were a Goodfellas character. He's like, nice to meet you. And you're like, whoa, this guy's such a character. Moving on.
What would your nickname be? What would your Goodfellas nickname be?
Slovenly Andrew.
Slovenly Andrew. You start every sentence with a sigh.
I'm always wiping mustard off my mouth. Oh, it's nice to meet you. With my sleeve. Oh, nice to meet you. It's covered in mustard. What is with this guy?
He loves mustard.
He loves it.
So the game that I want to talk about briefly is Starfield.
Oh, yeah.
Starfield came out. Obviously, it's making a ton of waves. Gravitational waves.
There you go. Very good.
Starfield. Are you thinking about picking this one up?
I am. It was in my most anticipated games of the year, and I think last year actually.
Yes,
maybe 2 years ago.
It got delayed quite a bit.
It did.
Quite a few times.
I've been excited for this for a very long time, and what I hear is intriguing. I will say, I think I retweeted something like this, but Starfield has fallen into the thing that I really don't like when they release a game that is clearly not finished, and they're like, oh, guess what? All this stuff that you want to be finished is coming out with the patch. And
you know
like,
what?
Great, awesome.
So I think that's something that has been happening lately.
Yes.
With like realistically for a lot of games, Cyberpunk being like the number one example.
Sure. Yep. Yeah, because they came out, Project Red came out and said, okay,
it's not ready yet.
It's not ready. Here it is.
Give us another few months.
And apologize.
The thing about Starfield though is what I'm seeing, I'm starting to wonder whether people are getting a little nitpicky and wanting to cause a stir, because I haven't had any issues with Starfield in terms of like glitches and all that stuff. I also haven't heard much from people who are playing it that they're experiencing the same thing.
Okay.
Occasionally you'll get some frame stutter. Occasionally you'll get like an NPC floating around or something like that. But in a game like Oblivion or Skyrim or any of these large open world games that came before it, I really don't think they were absent of that either. So I wonder now with all new major releases, if some people, especially who are fans of one console over another, if they don't start trying to sewer the game to be like, look, this game sucks. Like if you didn't like the Switch, you were doing it for Pokemon, although Pokemon did look like it was an absolute mess. If you didn't, Cyberpunk was just this one being like, look, games can be released unfinished, that sort of thing. I don't know that Starfield suffers from as many issues as Cyberpunk does. I've had zero crashes. I've had zero poor experiences with like those kinds of interactions and stuff. So I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Okay. The only reason I'm saying this is because Bethesda has already confirmed post-launch plans for Starfield, including city maps, DLSS support, FOV sliders, brightness and HDR calibration, eat button when looking at food, official mod support confirmed for early 2024.
What was that last one?
Eat button when looking at food.
Eat button.
Eat button.
So they're going to ship you a new button for your controller. You got to plug it in. A dedicated button.
Just like a big like Staples red make it easy button.
Yes.
Which time to eat?
Which only shows up. Which only shows up when there's food on the screen.
I like that it would be like a nuclear code, like, and it opens up like, ooh, time to eat. Smack. Years of support and improvements confirmed. I just like it. Just they're really. I don't know that if you're already confirming all that and the game has just come out, and you're like, guess what?
Yes,
we've got all this. That means you went. Should we do it for the launch?
100%.
We can't do it for the launch.
I think that there is this weird perpetually unreleased games, and if you're not a major studio, I think you get much more of a pass. Like games that have existed in pre-release, Dave the Diver, for example, was out. Everyone was playing it prior to like its official release, and they're just like, "Hey guys, it's not finished yet, and you're just going to play it as it is, and then we're going to add a whole bunch of new things later on." But that's more like indie developers that get that pass. Now you have these major publishers who are kind of doing the same thing and kind of, I wouldn't say going under the radar because it's a major news story every time it happens, but I do wonder if they just know that this is the state of new releases. It's like if you want to hit the September 9th release date that Starfield had or whatever it was, you're going to get it, but it's going to be slightly broken or slightly unfinished. I don't know.
I don't know what has to change. Like I guess it has to change where we stop buying video games or something like that. And clearly that's not going anywhere.
No.
Like we're buying, everyone's
You
buying.
bought Madden this year.
Okay, we all make mistakes, man. Like, I don't know why you got to rub my fucking face in like a dog in urine.
The one thing I like about this mistake that you've made is you saw it coming 3 months away, and like a freight train, you just couldn't stop it in time. You're like, I'm going to make this mistake, Mikey. Watch me.
There is a very apropos comparison of like dating a partner that is not good for you. Where you're like, oh yeah, I'm totally gonna do that. Why? I know myself. It's a terrible idea. I can't stop myself because there's something I like. In this case, it would be Josh Allen playing Madden. In the other case, it would probably be sex.
Right.
And so like, in the best case scenario, a little bit of both, sex with Josh Allen. So, and that would be fantastic.
I would say both experiences wildly disappointing for whoever plays them with me.
Oh, for me, yeah. No, I agree with you. It's not going anywhere. Video game sales have never been higher.
Yeah.
I just wonder, like, it's like too big to fail kind of thing. Like these things are becoming so big, they're kind of collapsing in on each other.
It could be. I mean, in Starfield, like examples like the FOV slider and adding new functionality and stuff like that is like, that's a better version to me than flat out glitchiness.
Yeah. Unplayable.
Yeah. But I think every new release is going to have something like that, especially a game as big as Starfield.
I know.
But so far, I've been pretty impressed with it.
I'm glad to hear that. And listen, I want to talk more about it because I'm very curious about it. But it's just like, before anyone listens and go like, man, you're so annoying, just let us enjoy these games. Absolutely, enjoy these games. No worries. I'm just saying is like, the only way it's going to change is if we stop accepting it.
That's true.
We're not going to do that.
That's true.
So I just got to shut the hell up.
It's
you know
like,
what I mean?
It's like to bring sports back into it. It's like corporate sponsors on jerseys. And you're like, this sucks. I hate it. But you're going to keep watching, and you do.
100%. They're going to start looking like football jerseys.
Every league
Europe.
has it. Yeah, exactly. Every league has it now.
And the only other thing I'd say too is that, but it does set a very bad precedent because these games take so long and it requires so much money and man hours that.
Or woman hours.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yes. Especially woman hours.
Especially woman hours.
Good couple of woman hours will much better than man hours.
It's about, what, 70% of a man hour?
Yeah, it's about like 0.7 to 1. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
Depends on the conversion rate, where you are in the world. But is that they're getting so big that a failure, a colossal failure of one of these games could end a company.
Very true.
And so it's no longer like we're releasing 30 games this year. It's like, no, we're releasing 2 in 3 years.
Yes.
And if one of them fails, we're firing thousands of people.
Yeah.
We're like, yeah.
There is such a bubble in the games industry right now. Like when they talk about the development cycle of a video game being like 8 to 10 years, like how do you know when you have a company going, A, that 8 to 10 years from now, your game is going to land and is going to be good and is not going to be eclipsed by relevant, exactly. And B, that your company's still going to fucking be around by then.
Totally. And like in 10 years, what console are you using?
Yes.
Like, I don't know.
Are you now developing for the PlayStation 7?
Oh, get out of here.
Get rid of town.
Yeah, get out of here. Microsoft buys EA in the process in the next 10 years, and then you're like, oh, wait.
Yes.
Sports games not allowed to be made. Oh, my God. It's just, so that's the only thing. But okay, so actually playing Starfield.
Yes.
Get all that out of the way. Are you enjoying it?
I'm...
Uh-oh. Oh, God. Stocks start diving left and right, Mikey.
Here's the thing. This is a game that I recognize as being a fantastic game. Oblivion was one of my favorite games ever. I know everyone is like Skyrim was the peak. Oblivion was the game that really consumed me. Okay. I felt like I was living in this world. I wanted to walk into every house, talk to every person, which, by the way, is a psychopathic thing to do in any society, game or otherwise. I'm going to walk into every cabin in the woods, steal all the plates, and then pickpocket the person in there, and then talk to them. They're like, there's a gremlin outside. And I'm like, kill the gremlin.
You got bigger issues, my man.
There's a gremlin inside, baby. He just stole all your plates.
And you wink at his wife, and you're like, the fuck? Jesus.
But it got me realizing that, like, if you like a lot of people are calling this Skyrim in space.
Oh, okay.
So never mind Oblivion. Let's use Skyrim because that's the more common parlance. If you want Skyrim in space, you got Skyrim in space. And for a lot of people, that's all they want. And if that's the case, it's great. It achieves your wildest dreams. I kind of realized that in playing Skyrim, I scratched my Skyrim itch. So reskinning it into space doesn't make it a game that I want to play more. All of the Skyrim I ever wanted to play, I played in Skyrim. Yeah. And I don't know that there's another game or type of game out there where one did it so well at the perfect time and it just ruined it for all other games because everything else was trying to be and just couldn't compete with my childlike whimsy at the time that it came out, the scope of the game relative to everything that came apart from it, and the scope of the game relative to how big games ended up coming. Like Starfield is a much bigger game than Skyrim or Oblivion, and it's gotten to the point where it's too big for me. So perfect time, perfect size, perfect setting in that fantasy setting. And I'm playing Starfield just like, this feels very familiar, and it's not necessarily familiar in a good way for me, which is a little bit unfortunate.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that's too bad. You know what I mean? Because this game was anticipated for a lot of people, but like, you know, everyone knows at home, if you listen week after week, thank you, but is that, Mikey, you know, big games, this is a big game.
It is one of the massive game.
One of the biggest games.
It's tough because I sit down and I turn it on and I just can't help but think to myself, like, if I have 45 minutes to play it, it may be dialogue that I'm experiencing for those 45 minutes instead of just kind of like escaping a little bit. Yeah. And for some people, that's great. And it's just not always quite what I'm looking for.
Has traversal been fun?
It's tough because there's something different in Oblivion or Skyrim of like traversing a mystical forest.
Sure.
And there's animals running around and there's trees and every little bit of every plant and tree looks new and whimsical. In this, you land on a planet and it's pretty much barren until you get to the point on the planet that you want to go to, or the rough area. So what we talked about a few weeks ago when we talked about is it possible that a game can be too big? And I said no, but as you expand the size of the game, you need to account for the expansion and insert things inside of it to make it still entertaining.
Yes.
You don't want it to have bloat. I feel like Starfield has some bloat. I don't want to spend as much time traversing from like my spaceship to the mission that I'm going to when it's just like a 3-minute sprint to an outpost on a rocky planet. Not that fun.
No,
you know?
That doesn't sound like that much fun.
Yeah.
Okay, well, oh boy, am I going to play this game? You know, I just...
But you can on Game Pass. It's free on Game Pass. That's the thing.
Is it really?
That's the thing. It's a day.
So I guess I have to.
You don't stand to lose anything. And I'm still going to keep playing it.
Well, except for the most valuable thing of all.
Your time.
Time.
Damn it, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Fuck, I got to get that shit back.
Except you're the only one that's trying to put the hands faster. You're like, come on, let's go. And I'm like, oh, everyone slow down.
Slow it down, baby.
Chill.
But another...
Think of Jimmy Buffett. Rest in peace. Rest in power, my king.
R.I.P. He's eating cheeseburgers in paradise.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
I'm talking about... I'm actually talking about Dante's Paradise.
Oh no!
Yeah, no, that's good. That's heaven.
That's good.
That's heaven. That's
good.
What Jimmy Buffett
Sorry,
is
you just
now.
bring up Dante, and I'm like, that can't be good. That guy's pretty sick and twisted.
He is pretty sick.
Catholic.
Well, he designed all the cornices of hell.
Yes,
Jim Cornices. Wait, no, I'm thinking.
Who are you thinking of? Jim Cornette?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
That's
okay.
Not the hockey player.
No. Yeah. The wrestling promoter. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well,
so I wanted to ask you a question.
Yes. I'd love to hear it.
Because another game that came out that is, equally as important to a large number of people, possibly more people than Starfield, game that comes out every year. And
Santa.
Santa's not a game, Andrew.
Oh, okay.
Santa is for real, and he doesn't play around. He's got a job to do.
He is vindictive.
He's vindictive.
He remembers.
Oh, what is the worst thing Santa remembers about you?
That's a really good question.
Are you willing to say it live on mic?
Yeah, I
repent for it.
I wonder. I would say the hundreds of thousands of masturbation. Like he probably just the number of times he tuned in to my life and went, "Oh God, he's doing it."
Let's check on Ange. Oh,
Jesus Christ! We did it 20 minutes ago. We thought, well, he's got to be done now. He's coming back again.
Andrew, let it snow, Bascom.
We're gonna buy him gloves this year, or really tight underwear, or something like that.
You'll just find that a different form of friction, and you'll fucking love it, Andrew.
100%.
No, so the game that comes out is a game that you play often. We talked about Madden and your disappointment in it. NBA.
Oh, NBA 2K.
NBA 2K.
A game I bring up all the time on this
All the
podcast.
time, and a fairly well-received game, typically.
Oh, yeah, you know, yeah. Okay.
I didn't even know when this game was coming out. I don't pay attention to the NBA games. What I noticed on Steam is that, you know how you have like the ratings. I'm not sure how much you use Steam, but you have user reviews, and it correlates all the reviews and then gives it an average rating, either negative, very negative, mixed reviews, positive, very positive, overwhelmingly positive. So overwhelmingly positive is really good. I was scrolling through my queue, 2K came up, and it was like overwhelmingly negative reviews. What is going on with the NBA 2K game right now?
Yeah, it's funny we talk about it because I was mentioning recently in these banked episodes that we had, 2K came up a lot where I was using it as a shining example of like Madden just resting on their laurels, doing the same game every year and selling you bucks. It's selling back to you for $80. 2K at least is progressing. It's showing stuff. It's doing stuff with quality. Holy shit! Did I like put that into the universe for it to absolutely fall on its face?
Oh my god!
It is just an absolute repeat of previous years. Plus, they are not doing anything for single player much anymore. Everything is basing towards the cards and to monetize much after their initial sale purchase. I can't. People just said it's the IGN review 6 out of 10, and in the review says generally unplayable.
So then, how is it a 6 out of 10?
That's what I said too. I'm like, shouldn't it be a 3?
Isn't it basketball? If the gameplay is not good, it is totally unplayable.
I think it's just they're saying if you're not playing the card game, it's generally unplayable.
I hate the idea of that, especially because last year's reviews were, not amazing, but much better than
2 years
60.
before was like 9.5, 9.8 or something like that. And it's been like that, a stretch of that for years.
Yeah.
Because they kept pushing, I would say it's really at the leader of the sports games of like trying to be as authentic as possible to real life. And they did a really good job of that. Take 1 year off and I hope they tank sales. I don't want to cheer against people. I don't want anyone to lose jobs, but I also want quality.
We do better when the games are better.
100%.
So here's the thing we talked about. We envisioned a world in which the NFL didn't give only one video game license to EA, and 2K and EA could duke it out. Like, how much better would football games be right now? There was a brief stint there for a couple years where it looked like NBA Live might be making a comeback. Now it's nowhere to be seen. Is it possible that NBA 2K, the same way Madden is just kind of like sitting back knowing they're going to sell games no matter what, is NBA just sitting there from the 2K perspective and saying, we don't need to change anything anymore. We got no competition.
I wonder, because they tried to bring back NBA Live. The games weren't good. No. And so then it just kind of died away after a couple of years. But yeah, competition is a really good thing to create innovation. And I just fear that they might have missed their window because games also are incredibly expensive to make these days, especially when you have to purchase a license, for 300 players and coaches and stuff like that.
Yeah, you're basically, I don't know what the actual numbers would be, but I would imagine that for every NBA game that sells or any sports game that sells, you have to pay at least let's talk NBA. You have to pay the NBA. Yeah. You have to pay the NBA Players Association. And now that they have older players, I'm not sure if it's the same with the NBA as it would be for like the NHL, which I'm a bit more familiar with, but there's also an alumni association. Yeah. So you're paying essentially like 3 or 4 different royalties for every copy of the game that you sell. And I wonder what that percentage is. Is it I know royalties can get as high as like 10, 15, 20% per league, which it's obviously not going to be that case with this, but like, I bet you they pay 3 to 5% per league per game that sells.
Probably.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it definitely gets up there. So trying to do that and be like, I don't want to give like EA's NBA Live like some kind of idea that there's coming to Upstart or something like that. But like, it does get, prohibitively expensive. Yeah. If you're like, well, we're not seeing the returns. Time to pull the plug. I don't know. I'm very disappointed because like this was like my one hope of a sports game where I'm like, I'll buy it year after year. And now I saw it. I'm like, whoa, brakes on this one. Let's not do this.
Well, it's funny because I basically take a couple of years off of the NHL franchise for a bit. Every year or two, I don't get it again. And this,
you're like Punxsutawney Phil.
Who is that?
The groundhog that sees his shadow.
Oh, he takes years off?
He takes weeks off the winter. Or extends it.
Andrew, I'm about to Mitch McConnell so hard right now.
You shit yourself? Okay, how about this? You're like a leap year.
Sure.
That was pretty good. I should have gone with that first, probably.
Yeah, I mean, it's still not great, Andrew, but it's
not bad.
God, the difference between that and Pause
You're like the Olympics.
Once every 4 years. There you go. That's a really good one.
Thank you.
A much better one, especially because it's kind of sports related.
It was the first one I mentioned.
Fuck.
It's the Mandela Effect live on the podcast.
Jesus.
Whoa!
I'm going to go back and listen to this, editing it, and be like, I must have been on mushrooms. Like, what just happened there? I'm getting like anxious thinking about, did I just imagine all that? No, but this is the year that for some reason I'm looking at NHL like, do I get it again? I don't know.
Who's on the cover this year?
Oh God!
Oh, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. Sorry. I thought you knew.
Oh no, I know it's Cale Makar on Colorado.
Cale Makar.
Yeah. The guy who's changing the way we play defense in the modern NHL.
Yeah, Cale Makar should have bought a car dealership though. Cale Makar, buy a car.
No, I like the idea that he buys it, but legally you can't drive away with it because he has to chase after you saying, no, it's my car.
It's my car.
It was in the contract. I said, do you want to buy a Makar?
Cale, my car.
And by the way,
no, it's a repair shop. It's a repair shop. You drive it in, you're like, Cale, my car. And he's like, all right, got it.
He just hits it with a stick a couple times. The engine starts running again.
Cale Makar is a defenseman for the
Colorado Avalanche.
He's a very good player.
Very good player on a team of very good players.
Yeah.
No, I've heard something interesting about the NHL franchise though, or the NHL game this year, because they added like what's called Michigan goals, where you can pick up the puck and like throw them in the net. And there's a lot more stick movement and like lacrosse, quote unquote, lacrosse style plays. And that's all anyone is doing to score.
Sure.
You know how NBA changed the way the sport of basketball is played, and similarly Madden changed the way the NFL is played. I think that the NHL is going to slowly but surely, and it kind of already has, move towards picking the puck up lacrosse style, like just get the puck on your stick, move it around and fling it in the net. Unlike what we used to, like the wrist shot and the slap shot. This is getting a little inside hockey. I know we don't have a ton of hockey listeners, but might be a third of what's done compared to like Michigan goals and picking it up and playing around with it. It just seems like the number of Michigan goals that would have been scored in the last 2 years is probably 8-10 times what we've had every year previous. Like
and at these rates,
it's going to be so high.
But
I think it's just proving it's like if you attempt it, sure, it's flashy, but it also has a high success rate. And as soon as people start to get over that stigma of like, don't throw up threes out of nowhere. When they're like, oh, I'm going to, because percentage wise, it's going to end up working out. For me. I'm going to try the flashy thing of like a Michigan style goal, and it's going to go in for me more often than just a typical wraparound will try to. Yeah.
I agree with you. That would be baffling if that changed the sport. Like that would just blow my mind.
I bet you it will. I bet you, honestly, I think look 3 years, 4 years from now, I bet you it's not like it's going to be 20% of the goals scored, but I think you have like attempts every night.
Yeah, it was kind of like Between the Legs got there for a bit.
Yes, yeah.
Can I talk about another game I've been liking? I don't know if you've ever heard of this game. Comes out once every 2 weeks. Or I played for 2 weeks straight.
Fortnite?
Yeah. Okay,
it's back, baby.
Now that I'm back and we're back and we could talk about this, the new season came out now a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
10 days ago, something like that. And I fucking love it.
Nice.
It is so good. I talked about this, a couple weeks ago, and I was like, this season kind of is okay. It's not like a bad season, but it's not drawing you in because it was like weirdly like a primal season or like Cave Dwellers and Optimus Prime.
Well, it's
say no hand in hand. Yeah, say less, King. This season is all about heists. So they put these 3 gigantic mansions on the island.
Oh, that's amazing.
With security guards and with cameras and with turret guns and whatever, and you can go in and steal out of their vaults like the vaulted guns, like guns that have gone away, so like famous guns from previous seasons.
No way.
So like, because there's been always these villains or like kind of like
downloadable characters or like
a big bad on the map that you can go after and maybe get one of their guns or whatever like this. And now they vaulted them into the vaults, and so you could steal from them, and then alarms go off, and it's just a ton of fun.
That's amazing.
And I give them a lot of credit because last season they definitely were like, hey, everyone just chill for a second. Because they also introduced one of my favorite things in the game's history. It's called the Rocket Ram.
Okay.
And it's a beating down the door kind of police style thing.
Sure.
Except it has
like a battering ram.
A battering ram.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. That's the word I was looking for. It's in the name.
A ram that beats its wife.
Yes. A Los Angeles ram.
The Los Angeles Rams.
It's getting too close to home. But in this battering ram, there's a rocket attached to it. So when you do it, you fire it up and you can fly through a house. You can send yourself 200 yards in the air so you can get away from violence. It is so much fun to have. You can even hit somebody with it.
That's amazing.
It is so much fun. And they've introduced a bunch of new stuff that was just really good. Like a laptop gun, that turns into a turret. So you throw the little briefcase and it turns into
Is it like an actual nod to Perfect Dark?
It has to be.
It has to be.
It has to be, even though it is like a briefcase, but they do call it laptop or whatever. There's been so much just new fun stuff, and you're like, oh, it's back, baby.
I love that. I love hearing that because I don't play it, but man, the more good games we have, the better, because good games make other games better.
100%.
Now you see a good idea that goes into that, it might get borrowed somewhere else, and it's just good to see my good buddy Andrew loving a video game to play.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I just, once again, Epic it's progressing all the time.
Yeah.
Like, it's just kind of crazy. So
doing what Overwatch definitely failed to do, and I know we talk about that all the time, but I like, bringing up the battering ram or the rocket ram. There's a game that came out just as of recording, the day of recording, so almost a week prior to this episode releasing, called Gunbrella, where it's your weapon is also your source of movement and getting around the level. It looks really, really good. I might give it a try. I'm not sure, maybe on the Switch or the Steam Deck or something like that. But that is an element where the method of traversing the environment is also your weapon. It's always been fascinating to me. I've always really liked that as a mechanic.
I think that's a really cool idea. Yeah, no, it's very satisfying. And there's a lot of strategy involved too. There might be a cooldown period, and then there might be and that's why I always like that when you're actively thinking, which is all the reason why I like playing video games.
For sure. Let's just get more creative. Let's get more ideas.
But not with green.
Not with what?
Not with green.
Green is not a creative color.
Green is not a creative color.
We do not approve of green being a creative color.
On this podcast. No green.
Red?
Red's pretty good.
Red is a creative color.
Red's a creative color.
Black? All colors.
Sure.
So
black, even shades.
Black is it's weird because I've always found this weird. In light, like light, when you're talking about light, black is the absence of color.
Yeah.
But when you're painting, black is every color.
How is black every color? Because
if you put mix every color, it becomes
black. It's interesting. It's both nothing and everything. Wow. Holy shit.
Andrew, we found it.
I don't know. We'll post our replayable games, but this episode's done.
We're done,
Jesus
guys.
Christ. Holy shit. Are we supposed to get better than that?
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Hello?
What?
Oh, that my dog's even barking. It's the government, I think.
The government. Get him.
Is it the government again?
Yeah, I think it is.
It's the government. Yeah,
Elliot's nodding.
They say that Elliot's handing me a note right here.
Yeah.
They say stop the podcast or else. Well, listen here, government. Take a look at this piece of paper. I'm going to wipe my fucking ass with it.
You show
Our
them.
listeners have a right to know what the most replayable video games of all time are. And if I don't get to tell them that, I'll literally kill myself on this podcast.
Okay. All right. That's good.
They're coming. They're trying to pull the plugs out.
Okay. No, don't do that. Replayable.
Replayable. We'll turn it off after that.
We made a promise to the D-pads.
Barack, get out of here. He's still in the government.
He's
still in the government.
Takes a paycheck probably. Am I right? Off the sweet liberal teat of the government.
So we're going to get to our most replayable games of all time. And as always, I like to set up sort of a taxonomy and rule set based on to kind of like establish what it is that I based my decisions on to pull this. I do want to read a quick comment though from one of our listeners before I actually get into the episode itself or the draw itself.
Yeah, I guess.
It was from our, please, Andrew.
No, I don't know.
Please.
I hate hearing from our listeners.
Aw, you and me both.
No, don't. One of us has got to like it.
Well, I hate that you hate it.
Oh.
So when they make a comment, it bums me out because I know it's going to bum you out, but I love hearing from the listeners.
Okay, I'll just make it past this one time or the next time we do a mailbag episode.
Okay, fine. So here it is. This is actually from our YouTube. So hey, look, if you're watching our episodes out there and you watch them on YouTube or Spotify or whatever, leave us some comments, leave us your thoughts, and maybe we'll read them as well. Always like to hear from you guys. This is from Liquid Solidus 9000 on YouTube. It was actually on our Sly Cooper episode, so it's going back a while. But the comment was, I got into the series by complete accident. I had rented the first game once as a kid, but got stuck pretty early on and didn't really care for it. But then a couple years later, I was on the phone with a relative telling them what I wanted for Christmas, and I told them, tie 2. the sequel to Ty the Tasmanian Tiger.
Oh, yeah.
I guess they misheard me over the phone or just saw Sly 2 in the store and figured that's what I meant. Since when Christmas came, I ended up getting Sly 2 instead. At first, I was a little disappointed, but I ended up really loving the second game and later the third game as well. Aww. I did eventually go back and beat the first game, but still to this date, I've never played Ty 2. And that story I read in the morning and it just made me laugh. The
That's
idea
awesome.
of like saying Ty 2 and your relative hears it wrong. Amazing. Love that.
It's such a relative thing. And I'm going to get there probably now-ish in my life where like a 12-year-old relative is going to be like, I love this. I'm like, what is that? And I got to go to an attendant and go like, what is this? What is this? I have a very clear memory, speaking of rest in peace, of my aunt. I wanted to get for Christmas, I wanted to get the Smash Mouth album. Walking on the Sun.
Of course.
Their first CD. And just her having the complete absence of putting those two words together. Just going like, mouth head, what is this thing? And you just kind of like some poor, we had the store called HMV, like some poor, record store person being like, lady, I don't know what to tell you.
I like the idea that there's a stack of CDs with a sign that says Smash Mouth or Mouth Head or just for all the mothers and aunts and dads and uncles who go in there and not knowing what they're actually looking for.
I had to hear Walking on the Sun.
Listen, to be politically correct, I said dads and uncles. All the dads and uncles knew what Smash Mouth was.
Yeah, they were totally in on that. They're like, this guy's rip. I love it. They're wearing cargo shirts just like me.
Making cargo shirts. You could fit 3 Smash Mouth CDs. You could fit 3 double albums in those cargo short pockets.
Yeah, you're like, hey, what do you guys want to listen to? I got you. Just pick it out of your cargo pants. 2 legendary musicians died. Jimmy Buffett and the lead singer of Smash Mouth, whose name I don't even know.
Honestly, towards the end of his life, I'm not sure he did either.
No. Yeah, he was not in a good place.
Like he was in a great place. But probably lived a more exciting life than either you or me.
Oh,
Would you trade lives with him knowing that he died at, I don't know, 49?
No. Because that level of success followed by that level of probably perceived failure
would be worse than never having success.
Is never having success.
Yeah.
Which, hey, look at me, baby. But
that's the only reason we haven't reached the peak of success of this podcast.
Because we're afraid of it.
We're afraid
of touching that brass ring. No, I can't do that.
We might as well be walking on the sun.
But you just can imagine they release Walking on the Sun. They're like, here we fucking go. We're going to start selling out there. And they're like, hey, this movie's coming out called Shrek. And you're like, uh-huh. And you're like, okay, cool. Like, oh no, excuse me, Mystery Men.
Oh, yes.
And then they're like, oh, they can use our song All Star. We're going to put it on an album. They're like, oh, that's really famous. Now this movie Shrek is like, hey, you just do covers? They're like, what? Is this our life now? It's like, yes, we don't want any original music. You're like, oh, okay. 20 years later, touring at like Sturgis Motorcycle Festival during the height of COVID.
Oh, well, hey, at least they were outside.
I'm sure that was the most dangerous thing that they were doing to their bodies.
That's true. Oh, Smash Mouth. I hope they're doing okay.
Do you think it was like a pharaoh where they all had to get buried together even before them were still alive? What? No, that's what his will says. You're like, oh my God, you find claw marks all inside of a wall.
Would it be a pyramid? What would they be buried under?
I'm trying to think of other songs really quickly off the top of my head.
Oh man, they had 2 to pull from.
They had 2, but I was thinking like, did they do "I'm a Believer" or something off Shrek? Or they did. It's a monkey song too, I think too. But yeah,
the monkey song.
One of the monkeys. Songs.
Hey, we're the monkeys.
Yeah, they did that.
Hi, we're the monkeys.
Hey, we are Smash Mouth. We're getting paid a lot of money to sing the song.
It's true.
Yeah. Don't sue us. All right.
They can't. They're all buried pharaoh style.
What are you going to do? Get out of the ground and somehow find me? All right.
So we are going to take a look at the most replayable games of all time. So it was kind of an interesting premise that was actually suggested to us by Joe Griffin, friend of the show.
Friend of the show.
Put their own list together, which I'll read at the end, and we can contrast and compare to see if we had any overlap in our lists. But kind of a good idea because I think one thing that we always talk about in this game is whether or not we can finish games.
Yeah.
Me more than you.
Yeah, sometimes.
And B, playing through story games in general and whether or not we're ever willing to play them twice. So it got us thinking that like if there is a game out there that we're willing to play more than once, what a special circumstance that is. Now, you and I talked about some of the rules and guidelines for picking this list. One of the big ones was like no sports games.
Yep.
I think that was pretty apparent.
The ones that are more intentionally trying to go after replayability. Is that fair?
Yes. You mean like not choosing?
Yes. Try not to choose the ones that are intended on starting and stopping very quickly.
If replayability is part of the mechanics of the game, like if you can't, like if when I pick up NHL and I play a game, replaying another game is not replaying the game NHL.
I agree with you. And the game is designed to last 40 minutes.
Yes.
It's not like, you know what I mean? Like there are certain games on here that I can squabble with this a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's not the one that's like, it's Fortnite.
Yes.
You could play for 20 minutes and then
Overwatch, like a competitive game where that's the purpose of it. Exactly. There's going to be some gray area, but in general, I was thinking like there has to be a specific endpoint of the game. And I thought that there were kind of two types of replayable that we can boil this down to. One type is you beat the game and then you stay in the game and continue to do side quests for an extended period of time, in spite of the fact that the main story is over. In this sense, replayability is kind of just like endless continuation. Like it just kind of keeps on going. The second version I have was you beat the game and then you restart the game and play it over again. This can either be in a New Game Plus or just on its own.
New Game Plus. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Because New Game Plus is like, you know, you can take it or leave it. It often just carries over some progress, but it is playing the game over again.
Yes. Yeah. Or it's like some kind of version of extreme mode too, where you like get all your guns from the beginning.
Yes.
Or, you know, yeah. I don't want to name any names. I was about to name some games.
Don't name names, Andrew.
Yeah.
So we, Joe Griffin submitted a list of 10 games. We're gonna go to 5 games specifically.
Do you want to give Joe's afterwards?
Yeah. We're gonna give Joe's afterwards for sure and see
curious
if there's any kind of overlap. So we'll start with number 5. I think I started the last one we did a draft and I started. So if you want to start with your number 5, and I think we try to order these from 5 to 1, but there's obviously going to be some variation.
Yeah. You know, you ask me on any good day and I could switch these around here a little bit.
Especially the like number 5 and 4.
Oh yeah.
I could swap out a lot, especially for number 5.
Okay. So my number 5 is going to be a game that I played a couple years ago on this podcast and I didn't stop talking about it for a bit, and it was a remake, but I'm not here to squabble with which game you're going to be talking about.
Sure.
I think obviously the best version is all the games pressed together in a nice, beautiful remake, which is called the Hitman Trilogy.
Oh, nice.
Really replayable games because,
yes,
there's 1,000 ways you can skin a cat, which is definitely a mission. So, you know, like you could do so many. You want to just shoot people? You can.
You can do it.
You shouldn't. It's not the point of the game.
You want to strangle cats?
You want to strangle cats?
You don't even have to put the game in.
Find a cat.
Find a cat.
Find a cat. Use your 2 strangling hands.
Yeah.
So there are just so many different ways that they've allowed you to take an angle at the mission.
You want to dress up like a maid, strangle someone with piano wire? Don't need to install the game.
That's also true. Yeah, I wonder how many things on our list here that we're like, why do you even play games at all? You could just do this. I don't want to say anything on my list, but there's a few of them. I'm like, hey, you just do that.
Oh, I got a couple.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, like it's just I've appreciated how deep these games can be. There is 2 ways to enjoy these games.
Yeah.
You could just join on the surface and go like, I think I can get there. And I'll kill the guy. Oh, I did it. That's fun. And it took you 10 minutes. And you're like, whatever. But the more you evolve and the more you go like, wait, if I turn on the gas,
yes.
and then the guy with that brings a cigarette over won't know that it and that'll be a distraction. Then I could drive the car over that's just so much fun. It's like fucking Mousetrap. It's so good.
And it's also, there's this element of the Hitman games. They've gotten so much better with this as the Hitman series has progressed.
Right.
Like Hitman 1 was a very different game than the Hitman games we get nowadays.
We did it on the podcast.
We did it on the podcast and it was not amazing.
No.
They have way more of a sense of humor, you know, killing people with a fish, throwing like the heat-seeking briefcase. I don't know if you've ever seen this, where like originally it was a glitch where if you threw a briefcase at someone, it would follow them around and curve. And instead of patching it out, they changed the description to basically be like, it's a homing briefcase. It's very funny. But the idea of, okay, this is how I did it the one time. I killed the person by poisoning them, but like they're at 6 different points over the course of this. I don't want to call it tableau, but this setting that you're dealing with. What if I did it another way, or one time I'm just going to go in and cause as much chaos as possible.
Totally.
The other time I'm going to be as quick as possible. The other time I'm going to be as creative as possible. Hitman has been built to be replayed. That's a fantastic choice. I love that.
Thank you so much. The one I kept thinking about was there's this one in a mansion. And it's a pretty secluded area, right? You got to get in past the walls. There's about 30 people in and around the grounds. There's groundskeepers, there's bodyguards, there's the family, there's the help, there's chefs and stuff like that. And it's a big mansion. And I think I got it like real quick.
Yeah.
Like I got the guy, the matriarch of the family I was supposed to kill because I probably for money, got near the window, silenced gun, kind of walked through the cornfield and I was out and I'm like, oh, that was it? And then I kept like looking around going like, that house is gigantic though.
Yes.
And you're like, God, there's probably so much stuff in that house. I played it for like hours just trying different ways to get this woman.
I love that because there is always, it's like, I'm trying to think of another game that you can kind of compare it to where something like Sunset Overdrive, which is kind of a weird pull, but where there's a way to beat the game just efficiently and to beat a level efficiently and just do it. But the way you want to do it is with as much style and points and creativity as possible. That's when it gets fun. Totally. Same thing with like Devil May Cry, where it's like, sure, you can beat the game, but you really want to rack up the combos and see the highest score that you can possibly get. Just like in Hitman, it's like, there's always the easy way to do it. Yeah. Just sneakily shoot someone in the head and like cut ruts like you're good.
Yeah.
But that's never the most fun way to do it. No. And I love all the different options that the Hitman games provide.
Yeah. So there you go. Hitman Trilogy.
Hitmonchan, Hitmonlee.
Okay, I'm so glad you said that because I was going to be like, a lot of credit goes to the creators of the game, Lee and Chan, and their incredible family that they've established. Yeah. So yeah, did you play any of those games?
I haven't played a Hitman game in a long time. Yeah. It's a game that's always been like scratching at the edges, just like, play me, like you'll enjoy, and I think I would.
Yeah.
It's just scratching.
Yeah, that's disgusting.
Because I'm an itchy boy.
You should kill that thing.
Like the cats.
How so? Many different ways. There's so many choices. Mikey, what's your number 5?
My number 5, I struggle with the number 5 spot because in my honorable mentions, I'll talk about all the games that could have taken this, and especially different types of games. And I'm going to mention one of the types of games that is similar, but I think ultimately when it comes to shooters, first-person shooters, there's a lot of replayability because as you get better at them, the earlier levels feel so much more satisfying because you can get through them a lot quicker and cleaner. But the way in which first-person shooters are played now is so much different than the way first-person shooters were played a long time ago. Like, say, 1997, 98 on the N64. Goldeneye. The thing I love about Goldeneye and its replayability is, A, you beat the campaign. That's awesome. Feels great. I'm leaving multiplayer aside because I don't even want to include multiplayer really as an element to it. There's an inherent replayability there that I'm not even counting. But you beat the campaign, and now what was your favorite level? Go back and play that one.
Right.
You want to play Facility? Go play Facility. You want to play the Dam? Go play the Dam. Because you unlock these little chunks in the form of these, like in the dossiers and these film strips, you can just go right back to the level you liked most. And the way that GoldenEye was built, they were all pretty bite-sized levels. Halo was going to be my other choice on this list. Yeah. But the problem is, each of the campaigns is so much longer. So if I want to just like pick spots to go back and play, it's like a 2-hour commitment. Man, you could beat Facility in a fucking minute.
Yeah.
And in so doing, maybe you unlock a cheat. And that's now the new process of replayability. You're encouraged to go back because you can unlock new cheats, new weapons, new game modes, all this sorts of things. It was built for replayability. And I just loved going and exploring the worlds, mastering each of the levels. Yeah. Toying with each of the villains in there because you knew exactly where they were going to be at any given time. I played the shit out of that game and played and replayed. So I thought the number 5 spot was pretty deserving.
I think that's really awesome. It's not on my list. I think it's tremendous.
Yeah.
Like there's kind of no way around it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad you mentioned it because it fits both. Like it does both here. Like where we could talk about trying to keep it within the rules that we're talking about. Sure. But the story mode's so good that,
it's so good.
Yeah. Okay, my number 2.
Your number 2?
No, my second game I'm mentioning, my number 4.
Yes.
Is going to be Red Dead Redemption 2. I know this is my one answer that people are like penciling that in when I started talking.
Sure.
But it actually says a lot more. My player one and she's not a huge video game player, but she does enjoy video games and enjoys talking about video games. And I think she's very fascinated by the idea and the design of them. I played Red Dead Redemption twice on my own.
You played through the campaign twice?
I did.
Holy shit. Wow.
And over the course of years, not back to back, but over the course of years, I'm like, look, this is a really good game. And I remember the end really affecting me. And I was like, man, these characters are really good. And after a while, my player one just picked up and played a whole new campaign and finished it. Not once, twice.
She did too.
She did too.
Wow.
And I think it speaks to, and this is not a direct thing against Mikey or anything like that, but Mikey brings up a very good point all the time that games are too big. And I mostly agree with him. It's kind of like saying movies are too long. It's like, yes, there's probably some editing that could go into these. If there is an advantage of big games, it is that when the story is done, you can continue on and hunt.
Yes.
Or go pick up flowers.
Yep.
Or go see all the side missions, or try the trains, or everything like this. And the advantage of especially a lot of Rockstar games, and one that I could have mentioned would have been GTA 5, is that nothing is nothing anymore. You know what I mean? Everything is something. And so when you're walking around, you're seeing a trail and you see a person, you're like, that person must be there for a reason.
100%.
I'm going to go talk to them. And I am endlessly impressed by this game. And the other one too that I've said before too is that sometimes prepare one to play and I just walk by the TV and I'd go, God, that looks beautiful.
Looks gorgeous.
It's just like a mountain range. And you're like, Christ, that looks good.
Yeah.
And so yes, this character stayed with me forever, and I will replay it again one point in my life probably.
Here's one thing I don't know that I've ever explicitly said on the podcast while talking about Red Dead Redemption 2. I do struggle with big games.
Yep.
Red Dead Redemption.
You're not a size queen.
I'm not a size queen.
No, you're not a size queen.
I want a perfect sized game.
I just want like a nice humble size that knows what to do with
a
it.
Small 8-inch game. That's all I need.
So, a small,
just
8-inch?
Small 8-inch.
Oh yeah. That's
just
so sad
real,
that they're
just like pocket size, basically.
So small. It's so sad.
Yeah. It's not the size. Like, listen, 13 too big. 8. It's like, do you know what to do with it? Because then you might be able to play. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's totally normal.
Yeah. I kind of think so. And you look very comfortable right now.
I'm super comfortable. Like my heart goes
Why do you
out.
have your hands in your pocket?
My heart goes out to those people. I'm so sorry. These are my cat strangling.
Why are your hands so wet?
It's my cat strangling hands.
Speaking of size.
But yeah, I cut you off. Sorry.
I do not think Red Dead Redemption 2 is too big of a game.
Oh, really?
I think that Red Dead Redemption 2 is the perfect example of how to make a game big while keeping it engaging and avoiding bloat. My problem with Red Dead Redemption 2 is the mechanics. I find the mechanics boring. But the game itself, the world is maybe the best world that's ever been made in video games, period.
I would love to know. Somebody tell me I'm wrong. You will anyway. But just like, I'd love to hear, what is the densest large game? Like, give me that there is something interesting happening in every corner. Not too much. You don't want everything because you still want it to be a real world. You know what I mean?
I honestly think it might be Red Dead Redemption 2.
It probably is up there until the next GTA game comes out, because the way that they do it is just very interesting. 100%. So yes, Red Dead Redemption 2.
Red Dead Redemption 2. My number 4 is fittingly the 4th game in a franchise.
Whoa.
One of my favorite games of all time. We got a remake of it this year. A game that you can play once, you can keep some of your progress, continue playing, speed runs, etc. Resident Evil 4.
Yeah.
Now, the thing that I love about replayability in Resident Evil 4, the first time you enter an area, it is terrifying and it's overwhelming. And there's something about the level design that is so logical and understandable that the next time you go there, you remember perfectly how to get through it. You remember where every enemy is, you remember exactly what to do, and it's now not scary and you feel like the boss now. There's something so satisfying about that. I am the zombie now.
Look at me.
Look at me.
Look at
I
me.
am the zombie now.
Jill Valentine staring at you very puzzled. What? You're the zombie?
What is it?
Look at me. I'm the zombie
now. Mommy.
With that haircut, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Stylish.
But seriously, I that's one of the things I find most interesting about it. It feels like an entirely different game the second time you play it, because you are no longer, I'm not scared anymore.
It's only funny because that's such a real thing for you to say.
I'm not scared no more.
I'm not scared anymore.
You can't beat me, zombies. You might kill me, but you ain't gonna scare me.
No, that's obviously a great choice. And I think a lot of people will echo that statement. And Resident Evil 4, so replayable.
Yes.
So replayable that they had to remake it for everybody so they could play it again.
Because people kept playing it. One of the games I played the most in my life. And also, like, as you replay it, you unlock things that are very Resident Evil in style, like the infinite ammo rocket launcher.
Yeah.
And now the game is just an entirely different thing. And it just becomes a joke at that point. It goes from a very scary game to an absolute joke of a game, and it's all contained within the same disc.
They should introduce the rocket ram. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
That would be great. Yeah.
Those dogs never see it coming. No, that's number 2. Okay, my number 3?
Yes.
Number 3. My number 3 is going to be the Simpsons arcade game. I was
amazing.
thinking about, what are the games I played the most in my life?
Sure.
That has to be some inherent replayability to them, right? And I was thinking, man, arcades are intentionally designed to be replayed thousands and thousands of times.
Right.
They're trying to soak money out of you. And was it tough between X-Men and Ninja Turtles and Simpsons? Yes. But I just tried to choose it based on the game that I've played the most in my life. And I honest to God think Simpsons has got to be up there.
When was the last time you walked by an arcade cabinet of The Simpsons and didn't put at least one round into it?
I honestly can't think of one.
I don't think I've ever walked by that cabinet without paying to play it at least once.
What was your favorite character to play as?
You know what? I weirdly like Marge.
I love Marge.
Yeah. There's
Distance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's almost like when I'm playing Dark Souls and stuff, I like lances and spears because you kind of like keep things. Donatello, exactly. And Marge was that with the vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I just, is the game that good? I don't know. Like, it's,
you know what? The answer is yes. Of course it is. It has to be.
It's totally playable.
Yes.
And is it unfair at times? Yes, it's an arcade game.
Yeah.
This is the part that you just got to accept. But I love the diversity in the characters. It was telling a story that obviously with characters that I really like. Now, is it inherently tied to the show? Not really. When you start breaking it down, you're like, what the hell's going on? Yeah, like Mr. Burns steals Maggie because she has the diamond in her mouth.
Yeah. Oh, you don't remember that episode?
Do I remember Burns and Smithers becoming jewel thieves? You don't remember that? No, I guess I must have missed that season. Whatever.
In the current season, they should do an episode of based on that would be amazing.
That's a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
Bring back the wrestler.
Script. Yes.
Oh my God, that'd be so much fun. I've always loved the Life in Hell comics too. And when you go to the Disneyland, Krusty Land version with all the bunnies and stuff like that, it's just really awesome. So yeah, Simpsons number 3 because
that's the early Matt Groening comic, right?
Yeah, that's the early Matt Groening comic. Thank you very much. It's just the game I've played maybe the most in my life.
I like that one. Infinitely replayable. I thought about a lot of retro games for that reason because you had to replay them. Yeah. A, because it's all we had when we were kids, and B, because there were just fewer games to play. So you just had to make do with what you had.
Totally.
I'm going to go with my number 3.
Please.
It's going to sound like this is just a shoe-in and an obvious answer because it's on most of my list. This is my Red Dead Redemption 2. It's Dark Souls.
Okay, there we
go.
Now
I want to walk you through why I'm saying specifically Dark Souls, not Bloodborne, not Elden Ring. And this is why. Bloodborne didn't feel like a different game every time you changed your weapon. It was of all of the Souls games, it felt most similar when you changed weapons or built a different character, like spec'd them out differently, magic versus strength versus dexterity, all this stuff. So Bloodborne is still my favorite from the franchise, but for replayability, it didn't feel like a new game because every time you built out a new character type, at least not as much as a game like Dark Souls, the original. You change from a big hammer to a bow and arrow or a magic user or a spear. You may as well be playing a different game. And similar to Resident Evil 4, that element of like the first time I did this was impossible, but because I had to do it over and over and over again, I'm now so familiar with it. The game starts playing on your terms instead of you playing on its terms. It's just so satisfying to go back and play. And instead of trying to survive, you're trying to explore and consume as much information in the environment as possible, because the more you do that in a Souls game, the more you get out of the actual lore of the game. So
it's like a Rorschach test. I'm not in here with you. You're in here with me.
You're in here with me, demon boy.
Yeah, truly psychopathic. Obviously, what can I say? It's a game you love. You
love it. Had to make an appearance somewhere.
Of course, that makes total sense. Okay.
And Elden Ring, I didn't include on there because this is more of I think in terms of replayability, Elden Ring is so much bigger with so many more options and so many more builds and so many more play styles that it is a more replayable game. But from a personal standpoint, I didn't love Elden Ring as much.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Dark Souls.
Okay, my number 2, I gotta ask, if this is allowed or not. Can I name Mario Kart? No.
I would say no because there's no story mode.
Yeah, that's fair. Gee, the Grand Prix don't count, right? Yeah. Tried my best.
It's the story of how I beat the computer into submission.
I was just thinking about that because of the battle mode, but that's I only because I was like, man, I played that so many times.
Yeah.
Here's a number 2. It's kind of a little bit of a left field, but there's a part of it that I have to talk about. It's going to be Metal Gear Solid Phantom Pain.
Oh, amazing.
So Phantom Pain, not everyone's favorite Metal Gear Solid game.
Yeah.
I totally understand that. But they had a very broken mode in this game. A very stupid, doesn't really work mode where over the course of the game, you, Big Boss, would set up your little fortress in the ocean.
Yes.
Right? And over the course of the game, you'd add people, you'd add turrets, you'd add, whatever, other things. And you could attack other people's fortresses.
Yes.
That became so fucking addictive inside this
100%.
game that I would be trying to build up people so that I could go attack other people and then be like, I'm still good. Let's go for another one, kind of thing. I'm really feeling myself. Was it good? I don't even know, but I couldn't stop playing it.
It's funny you say that because they had a similar mode in one of the, God, I want to call it Peace Walker. I don't know if that was the name of the Metal Gear PSP game, but similar thing where you could kill guards, you could put them to sleep, or you could kidnap them essentially. And you had like a thing where you could like airlift them out, and then you put them in the brig and you turn them to your side, and then you develop your own army with helicopters and tanks,
anti-air missiles,
all this stuff. And it was a similar kind of thing. I love that you say that though. Was it good? I don't know. But Kojima knows how to make things so satisfying.
Yeah.
So in that sense, they're good. Like, and Death Stranding was the perfect example of that. It was just so satisfying to play. Was it fun to walk things across a weird United States with ghosts and time rain? Not really. But when you get to the end, it was so worth it because you felt like you had accomplished something.
It's so funny you say that too, because like in any other medium, we're like, our favorite, Sophie's Choice.
Oh,
right.
Yes.
Our favorite movie, the Retrogrades movie.
Just a feel-good romp.
100%. In every other medium, you kind of don't walk away from Sophie's Choice going like, so much fun.
Yes.
So much fun. I'm so glad I did that. But you do say, that was good. I hated watching it. I'm never going to do it again.
Yes.
Right? But in games, inherently, you have to fun doing it, right?
Or at least satisfying.
Right. It comes hand in hand with playing games, right? Yeah. And so while we talk about these ones, like, is it fun? No, but I couldn't stop playing it. It's a very new and kind of interesting feeling for games that one I wish, I don't want to wish to explore it. Yet I think it's very interesting.
Yeah, it is. It is a big eternal question with games, how you balance story and tone with gameplay.
Yeah.
Last of Us being a great example of it, where it's like you have this great, heartfelt, subtle story at a lot of times, and then you go shoot 17 people in the head. Uncharted would be an even worse version of that, where you are a war criminal, Nathan Drake, just killing people at random.
Yeah.
So I love that pick. That's a great pick.
Okay, thank you very much. That's number 2. What is your number 2?
My number 2 is kind of a nod to the franchise. If I had to pick one, I honestly don't even know which one. So take your pick. I'll let the listener take their pick of any game within this franchise, and I can do so because I played every game in this franchise, often more than once. For someone who doesn't replay a ton of games, this is one of the few where I will beat it and immediately start replaying it, like as the credits roll. It's Ratchet & Clank. A game that's meant to be replayed because at its core, the opposite of what you're talking about with Metal Gear, all it needs to be is fun. It is just such a fun game to play, all of them in the series. And when you beat it, all of your weapon progress carries over. So the more you use a weapon in Ratchet & Clank, the more you level it up, the better it gets, the more you want to use it. Then you get this like super version of the weapon that you can use. It's like the top tier. So you end up wanting to upgrade all of the weapons. It encourages you to use even the ones that you don't want, because the goal is to upgrade them all by using them enough.
Okay. And
in replaying the game, weapon progress carries over, and there's exploration elements that you may have missed in the first one, where you get these gold screws that are like kind of the unlockables that you find in hidden areas of each level, and it encourages further exploration of the levels you've already been in. So there's this natural want and need to go through all of the levels you've already been in. A, because now you can do so with the best weapons already fully upgraded, and B, because there's these little collectibles that you can go find and still have the satisfaction of completing things and knocking things off the list that you hadn't done so previously.
See, that's awesome.
Yeah,
like that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
Now I'm very curious about your number 1.
My number 1 is not as exciting as my other picks, but it curiously might be your number 1 as well. I'm not sure.
I don't think you have my number 1.
Okay.
My number 1. Don't worry, you don't have to wait into discussion. I'm just going to tell you guys. My number 1 is going to be Stardew Valley.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah.
Stardew Valley does have a deep, I didn't want to do the Civilization, Age of Empires kind of thing. I'm just naming honorable mentions because those games are designed to be stop, started again, stop, started again. Whereas this one is kind of an infinite loop.
Yeah.
You can play forever.
Yes.
And only in that way that there is a pretty deep storyline. It's amazing that one guy created this, but it's
unbelievable that
it kind of blows my mind. It kind of hurts my, and then when he's like, I'm going to redo it and start again, you're like, hire people. You know what I mean? Like, I stress about you.
Doesn't your partner need your attention?
Seriously. Yeah. But if you never play Stardew Valley, you're missing out. It's a really fun, delightful small game in which you wake up and you are taking over your grandfather's farm in this small town. You eventually meet all the people that live in the town. You can fall in love. You can get married. You're buying stuff. You're growing plants. You're raising animals. You have a dog.
Exploring caves.
That's the second half of this. Then all of a sudden you're like, do you want a sword? Do you want to kill goblins? And you're like, what? And you're like, I just shucked some corn. I'm almost really tired. I need to go to bed. I'm gonna go kill some goblins. You're like, what? and then you're getting like further into the depths of hell. You're like level 94, and he's like some like fire breathing dragon or something like that. And you're like, well, time to go to bed. Gotta milk the cows. Like, what?
I'm gonna pass out right in front of this thing and get carried home by someone who finds me in the depths
Somebody's
of the
in
caves.
the 90th floor. Like, which I really gotta look at that guy and not trust him. And he's like, and it took a couple $. And yeah, just a really interesting, charming game that keeps you playing back more. So it doesn't involve like I was saying, the role playing of a civilization.
Sure.
But yet the day format always goes like, one more day. One more day.
100%. It so encourages that cycle of like, it doesn't make the days too long either.
No.
Where you always have one more day is never going to kill you in terms of like losing too much sleep.
No.
But in
I'll tell you
succession.
Yeah,
exactly.
But I've never had a game where I wake up and I go, oh, thank God it's raining. Okay, I'm gonna go to the goblin mode. Like,
Yes.
what in the world is this story?
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love Stardew Valley. A game that I every so often pick back up again, and I'm like, why did I put this down?
I think I want to get it on the Switch, but I
it's
also
great on the Switch.
don't want to, because then that is something I could take with me.
As long as they don't put it on my phone, don't do that.
I have it on my phone.
Oh, you do, really? Yeah.
It's great.
I downloaded Slay the Spire on my phone for a hot second and realized it was not a good idea.
Yeah.
So I deleted it.
You and I are not gaming on our phone, people, and it's not because we don't like it. It's because we do like it.
Yes, a little too much.
Yeah.
A little too much. I'm not looking for more reasons to keep my phone in my hand.
Mikey, what is your number one, baby?
My number one, I wanted to pick this one as number one as a testament to just how fun the game is. It does not reward you for playing the game over again. It doesn't ask you to play the game over again. Sure, you can get a better score, but who's keeping track? I've literally never kept track of my score in this game whatsoever. However, I've played through it probably more than any other game I've ever played in my life. Part necessity and part because I just always am down to play through it again. It's Super Mario World.
Oh, okay, good.
It is the game that, like, I don't care how many times you put it in front of me. If you put the controller in my hands and say time has just frozen for a bit, do whatever you want in the world right now, I'm beating that game.
Yeah.
I'm sitting down, I'm beating that game every single time. Not because I want to beat a score, not because I'm going to unlock something I haven't before, mainly because I've seen everything there is to see and it's all fucking great and I want to see it again. And that's such a testament to it just being the perfect game.
No, for sure. Yeah, I totally, that was on my list, obviously.
Yeah.
Super Mario World is so much fun. Those first couple of levels are just burned into my brain.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
How many times have I played through that?
Yeah. Like, I love it. It is, kind of like my number one. It's just so charming.
Yes.
You can't get away from the color aesthetic and the music, which we've been talking about in the last couple of weeks, but just like, holy God, is it very pleasing.
Yeah. And every time I get to a point where I'm like, I don't really remember what comes next, you reach that level where you're like, oh, fucking this level. I forgot about this. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's funny. My player once watching Mad Men for the first time.
Oh,
and
nice.
every once in a while I'll walk in and go, oh, and she's like, shut up. I'm like, oh, yeah, this is good. This is a good part.
I might need to rewatch that, watch it for the first time. I've never finished Mad Men.
Oh, yeah. Well, that wasn't even what I was bringing up. But yeah, like, I don't understand what ASMR is, but when I hear Super Mario, I kind of get it.
I get it.
I do. It makes me smile just by listening to some noises.
I do. Andrew, your hands are going in your pocket again. What are you doing?
There's a cat in there.
Okay. What?
Yeah, not anymore.
So why don't we read Joe Griffin's list?
Oh, sure,
and
yeah.
then we'll go through our honorable mentions. And as we said, if you have any recommendations for lists and drafts and that sort of thing, hit us up, theretrogridpodcast@gmail.com, or on any of our social media, and give your own list, and we might read it as well. So Joe Griffin,
what does he got?
He's got it looks like he picked a lot that I purposely didn't have on my list for specific reasons.
Okay.
And he chose them for the reasons that I didn't. So it's kind of interesting. Telltale Games was number 10, like The Walking Dead. He likes replaying it to redo all the choices and see what happens.
Yeah.
Similarly, Mass Effect, so you can kind of
choice.
like befriend different people and have new parties. I purposely didn't have either of those games or any of the games where you have to make choices that affect the outcome, because I'm very particular to it being like, that was my experience of the game, and I don't want to see what blends in, what they've hidden. Like, I want to believe that was unique and tailored to me, so I never replay them.
What were those books called? Like, Would You Rather?
The Choose Your Own Adventure.
Choose Your Adventure.
Yes.
And would you ever see what else you like? Oh man, that's what I could have had.
The first time I ever read a Choose Your Own Adventure, I read like the first page and it's like, go to page 30. And I was like, no, I want to read the whole book. And I just read it out of sequence.
That might have messed up your brain and explain a lot who you are today.
I think so. I didn't understand I was supposed to go back and forth. As a dumb kid, that made no sense to me.
Oh God, that is so funny.
It's like page 3, Long John Silver. I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? What is he doing on Muppet Treasure Island?
You just murdered somebody. Going, what the hell? One page different? Oh,
It's too much. Number 8, Batman Arkham Knight. That great sense of beating the game and just getting to complete all the side missions and beat up bad guys. Love that.
Yeah, I love it.
Dead Rising was another one. Especially
Dead Rising now.
Number 1 was one that I considered just in the shopping mall.
Oh, yeah.
That was peak zombie for me before it got, this was years before The Walking Dead. So Dead Rising was fantastic. Tenchu 2, Birth of Stealth Assassins. Number 5, Spider-Man. Understandable for the same reason Batman Arkham Knight or Arkham City are. Grand Theft Auto 4. This one's interesting.
4?
Yeah, this one's interesting because it's more about the DLC.
Okay.
And the expansion that GTA 4 made to GTA 3.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
Resident Evil 2.
Yeah.
For me, it's more Resident Evil 4, but I understand that. The Last of Us Part 1.
Part 1.
Part 1.
Interesting.
I think a lot of people are coming back to saying Last of Us Part 1 is better than Part 2. I think there's a lot of people on that route. I personally disagree, but yeah.
I'm going to be Switzerland in that argument. I'm like, good. It's the opposite of Alien versus Predator, because whoever wins, I win.
There you go.
Yeah.
We just love good things.
I just want everyone to be happy.
It's fantastic.
Not Abby, though. No, like, immediately take a side. Sorry.
Number 1 is Metal Gear Solid, and that one I totally get as well.
Totally get it.
Almost too long for me to replay, and I had such a fun experience the first time playing it that I didn't want to ruin the surprise of like a Psycho Mantis moment by doing it again. But it seems like Joe and I have very different opinions on what makes a game replayable, just from a personal standpoint.
Yeah, I agree with you, because the games he's listing are games you really love, but do you want to replay them?
No. Yeah.
For Mass Effect seems gigantic to replay.
The people who got the full set of Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 and replayed all of them, I'm like, wait. I don't like saying this because it seems like a judgment of people spending their time poorly, but like I don't understand how there are enough hours in the day to play those 3 games when there's every year so many games coming out.
I consume a lot of media.
Yeah.
And some people just are light years ahead of you, and you go,
yeah.
How do you do that?
How?
Do you have good relationships with people? Like, do people hate you? Do you sleep? Like kind of thing.
I think it's more the sleep thing. I think it's just I'm going to stay up till 4 a.m. doing this.
I think it is. And then you're like, yeah, and I just went to the gym, and you're like, what? How? Like, do you ever? You're like, I don't know. People find joy in a lot of different things.
Yeah.
So like that's good for them. But yeah, these are replayable games. Like Mikey's saying, there's so many more replayable games that we want to hear from you.
Yep.
Please let us know. @RetroGreat Mikey, @RetroGreat Andy, and @RetroGreat Pod. But until then, we love every single one of you, and we can't wait to talk to you soon. My name is Andrew Bascom, and with me, as always, is the bad boy of podcasting, Mr. Bebop himself,
Mikey Aaronworth.
This is the Retrograde Podcast.
Game over. Now, if you're a real fan, you'll listen to it all over again.
Yeah. Is this your favorite re-listen to episode? No?
Oh, shit.
Okay.
We'll try better next time.
Furnished by Sad Styles Productions.
I was trying not to laugh the whole time.
That's fine.
I'm usually better at that.
Well, that's because usually I'm not funny.